Our last SCCA Pro Rally in the ice and snow of Atlanta, Michigan saw Doug Shepard in the Dodge Neon dominate the two-wheel drive class. Dennis Martin and Kim DeMott placed fourth. Seamus Burke brought his new Evo home in third place. Shane Mitchell and his Group N Impreza finished second, but it was Canadian Pat Richard putting in an impressive drive in his Group N Impreza to take the overall victory. Extreme conditions, extreme locations, extreme adventure. For drivers, it's the ultimate challenge. For fans, it's the ultimate experience. This is the SCCA Pro Rally Championship Series presented by Hot Wheels. Today it's round number 2 as we head from the ice and snow-covered roads of Atlanta, Michigan to the slippery gravel-covered roads of the woods of Tillamook, Oregon. This is the Oregon Trail Pro Rally. For the first of 3 days of rally excitement, the organizers held a rally festival at the Portland International Raceway with a rally first, Rally Drags. Almost everyone loved the head-to-head competition down the quarter-mile strip.
Well, the drag strip just wasn't my friend last night. You know, we had never really run a drag race before. We lifted off the throttle just a bit early, and then zoom, there goes Lachlan right by us. We actually beat him to the line, but we didn't set a very good time.
It should be pretty fun, good for the spectators. Maybe a little bit hard on the cars because they're set up for the dirt, but it should be a good time.
Fans were able to get an idea of the power and speed of these rally machines.
The reaction time wasn't quite good enough, but yeah, it was quite interesting.
Leon Stiles was the fastest man on the strip, and what was another first for him.
We had our first Pro Rally stage win. Admittedly, it was a quarter mile, but I'll take a stage win any way I can.
Let's get the rally dirt on Doug Havier's CPD Racing, bringing last year's factory Mitsubishi driver Lachlan O'Sullivan and putting him in a Subaru.
Yeah, it's great. Doug called me and needed his new car shaken down, and he called me to come out and do the work. So he's allowed me to even enter the event and go out and have some fun. We've had a day and a half of testing. Doug has a great setup with a bunch of great guys. They made me feel real at home right away, and you know, anything I ask them, the guys come through. Subaru's been great. I've heard great things about them. I'm very happy to be here in one. It's just great to be here in a ride after 6 months and help someone out and be in a car. It's great to be back.
The first night of competition had just about 3.23 miles of special stages designed for the spectators to get an up-close look at these cars on gravel and tarmac conditions. At the end of the night in the first 3 stages, series leader Pat Richard continued his winning form by leading the pack, followed by Dennis Martin, Seamus Burke, Carl Yardeval, and Leon Stiles. Lachlan O'Sullivan found out it wasn't all fun and games. He ran into some problems on the very first stage.
We went out there thinking it was going to be an understeering car, and it was oversteering. We got some speed on the first stage. We were going down a straightaway, and at the end there's some kinks in the corner, and I set it up to get into the kinks, and the rear just oversteered right off, went into the grass like a Formula One car, right into the tire barrier, and did a little damage to the car.
We take the battle to the woods when we come back with more Pro Rally on Speed. This SCCA Pro Rally event is brought to you by Subaru, driven by what's inside. And by Mopar, authentic performance. The series is presented by Hot Wheels. First on the road were Seamus Burke and Charles Bradley. They explain why it's not ideal.
They're supposed to be very gravelly, it's supposed to be very high centered, so the first stage is 9 miles, so we'll just take it easy for the first 9 miles, and then we'll see where the surface and what it's like after that.
Second on the road was Pat Richard and co-driver and sister Natalie. They also had a lot of gravel on the roads to sweep aside for the drivers behind.
Sort of rainforest type roads. It's wet, twisty. There's going to be a bit of gravel on top, so I'm going with a softer compound tire. From what it looks like, nobody else here is. So hopefully that was the right choice. If it's the wrong choice, I'll have to live with it, but if it's the right choice, it should try to be a little bit of an equalizer, given the fact that we're in a Group N car and the other guys are in open class.
Despite the sheet metal damage, Lachlan O'Sullivan was getting used to his new car and new co-driver, Jimmy Brandt. After his 4th place finish at Snowdrift, Dennis Martin came out pushing hard, but he pushed a bit too hard. On Special Stage 5, he rolled. The team was okay, but his car wasn't. Their event was over.
We got a little late on a 3 right and hooked the berm. and caught a really big rock, and it just picked the car up on two wheels, and wasn't enough room to control it going around the corner and rolled down the hill.
Other teams had problems as well. As we go on board with Mark Utek, the Triangles come out for the second event in a row.
Triangle.
Okay.
We were having a good stage, but went to go to second gear for a tight left-hander, and something inside the transmission has wedged the car in neutral. We got no forward gears.
The event continues to take its toll as Doug Javier ran into some problems in his new Subaru.
Probably last night at the drag strip. We had a rear differential blow out on us. Now in the service time allowed, we're scrambling to try and get it replaced.
Mark Nelson had more problems than you'd think you'd get from running over a hay bale that the organizers put down to protect the road surface.
We have some hay bales that have been knocked into the road and making it a bit tough trying to drive around them. We had one in this last stage, third from the last corner, where it was knocked in a bit on the apex, and we were set up for the corner, and we just ran right over the top of it, and it busted the reservoir off of our shock, and now we're just trying to get suspension back together and go out again and hopefully watch out for those bales.
Leon Stiles is still in the running, but not making the progress he wants to. He's still coming to grips with driving this car for the first time on gravel. The drive of the day, though, comes from Carl Yarnevall. An incredible drive and a spin by Seamus Burke put Carl in first place after 6 stages. Only 3 seconds back was Burke and Bradley, followed by the Richards, Lachlan O'Sullivan and Jimmy Brandt, and Wyeth Gubelman and Alex Gelsomino.
Oh, I think we've had some luck. Seamus made a couple of mistakes on the last 2 runs. And, things have been working out quite well for us. So I guess I should be very happy that we're leading. Makes me a little bit nervous, though.
Taking a look at the two-wheel drive class, in third place in their Group 2 car, Brooks Freehill and Sean Elliott. The big challenge to the Dodge Mopar team came from Chris Havis, though.
We have a new motor this year, and hopefully it's closer to the Dodge's power output. I think Doug is anxious, and we're anxious to see what's going to turn out. These are the real stages. We'll see what happens now.
Doug Shepard wasn't going to wait to find out how it turns out.
Left 5 over small crest. Yep. 70, left 5, caution, brake, turn, right 3.
After 6 stages, he had put up almost a 2-minute lead over Chris Havis.
These roads are technically very challenging because they're fairly narrow. There's a lot of long flowing corners. You really have to be on your game, but when you are, it's a tremendous amount of fun. It's probably more fun than anywhere else in the country. I just love these roads.
Production GT had its share of excitement as well. Sands Thompson and Paul Nelson had a nicely prepared car until they wound up with the wrong side up on stage 4.
Turned in about a foot late and got off the back side of the crown on the road, and it just quit steering. So we back in, came over, and then the road thing kind of fell away. So we just ended up on our roof.
Chris Rhodes and Dave Hackett fared a little better. They were running third in class. 2 seconds ahead were Jamie Thomas and Matt Gager. And leading Production GT in something that would start to be a familiar sight, French native Stéphane Verdier and co-driver Alan Walker. There's more action when we come back.
Hello, I'm Petter Solberg. Watch Pro Rally on Speed Channel.
We're back at the SCCA Pro Rally Oregon Trail event. As the day wore on, Seamus Burke and Charles Bradley found the roads becoming even more difficult to drive.
Just the roads are so marbly. When you get out offline, you either spin or you're off. So lucky enough, we're still here.
Pat and Natalie Richard had a different set of problems altogether.
Into right 4 over small crest 70.
What's this?
Left 5 into right 4.
This is not a 5. This is like a 3 or
okay.
4.
Into left 3 plus R4 minus, right 4 minus. Turn right 450.
Problems with the stage notes.
Oh yeah, that would be me and the notes and not starting on the right page and
we realized right away that it was not the right
exactly.
chapter.
It was right at the beginning. So that's good, and Pat gave it the entire stage. So
once we got back on track,
we're still okay with some of them.
We lost a little bit of time, but it's okay. I mean, we're still leading our class.
Lachlan O'Sullivan still coming to grips with the systems on his new ride, showing that one small part can cause a big problem.
It's a brake light switch. The active center diff actually goes to a mapping system that will open or actually lock the differential or somewhere in between, depending on what you do with the throttle position and what you do with the braking system, among other things. Well, it can't tell right now that the brake's on or off, so we're having a little problem there, and it makes the car quite twitchy.
Definitely not a good situation on these loose gravel roads. Mark Nelson continued to push hard, ditch hooking where he can to keep his momentum up, to keep him up in the standings. Karl Yardeval was on maximum attack to improve on his 3-second lead. But he shows how quickly a few seconds can evaporate with this half spin and then a stall. Karl dropped to second position because of this mistake.
We try to push as hard as we can. We have nothing to lose right now, so I hope that we can make up some time. But Patrick and also Lachlan is coming on pretty strong, so I don't know if we can make it. I hope so. Karl seems to be running fine anyway, so I'm positive about the outcome.
At the end of the evening, though, Seamus Burke was back on top, crawling his way back into the top slot, building up almost a 1-minute lead over Karl Yardeval, who dropped to second position. Pat Richard 16 seconds back in third place, followed by Lachlan O'Sullivan and Mark Nelson.
We're pushing hard. Stage 7, we took a lot of chances, and they worked out. We took 23 seconds of Yardeval on that stage, and that last one we seemed to take 18 out of him. So we're back in the lead, but there's still a long rally to go yet.
At service, we caught up with Lachlan O'Sullivan, who explained why he almost didn't make it back tonight.
All of a sudden it got stuck in third, and there was nothing I could do to pull it out, and I didn't want to pull too hard and get stuck in neutral. So we finished up the stage, and we got pushes to start off everywhere. We even got pushed this last stage here to begin the stage, and luckily we got through it. But we have all night to rebuild it, but it is an early start tomorrow, so the guys aren't going to get much sleep, it seems.
And over in the two-wheel drive classes, tires were the big issue for the Dodge Mopar team.
We basically shredded a new set of front tires in the last 23-mile loop. And then the rears are even going away. And if you can imagine running out of rears in a front drive car, that means we're sliding around and abrading them a bit. And it was kind of nice for a while, but then the tire came off. It beat up the car a little bit, not too bad. And it got really noisy. So I think we're still in pretty good shape for the day.
Privateer Chris Havis wouldn't be intimidated by the Mopar team. He continued pushing hard, narrowing the gap in second place. In this edition of Rally Tech, the Dodge Mopar team shows us how they take the Dodge Neon SRT4 up to full-on rally spec.
The engine is absolutely stock. We've opened up the air intake system to help it breathe a little better. The catalyst has been moved to the back of the car within the rule specs. But other than that, the engine package is 100% stock. Suspension is KW, fully adjustable rally suspension. We've got higher rate springs. The shocks, we've got the gas bottles for added nitrogen control. On the inside of the car, what we've done essentially is take all the weight possible out of the car. We've got Sparco Kevlar seats. We've removed everything that's a weight penalty within the car. The steering system's kind of unique because it's got a NASCAR quick coupler in it, so it speeds up the steering response of the car about 50%. The shifter is a Mopar quick shifter for the package. This is the start of the second half of the season.
And we got the start of the final leg when we come back with more Rally on Speed. At the start of the final leg, Seamus Burke had a chance to check out his tires and the competition behind him. They were the people gunning for his top spot. Faced with a full day of rallying, even a 1-minute cushion might not be enough to guarantee a win. On the very first stage of the day, though, he shows he's out not only to hold his position, but to even increase that lead. The hay bale battles would prove to be a problem again, as Seamus was the first to encounter them on the road at this hairpin. This is the only event that uses the hay bales, and they prove to be less than popular with the competitors. Karl Yardeval was second on the roads this morning, and these roads haven't been used before as stages by the organizers, so all the competitors had the same problems learning the roads, and Karl shows us his different approach at the hay bale hairpin. Karl had a taste of the lead yesterday and was determined to get it back. Third on the road in his Group N Impreza, Pat Richard wasn't only eager to maintain his Group N lead, but he wanted to show the higher horsepower open cars that he had what it took to overtake them and maybe move up in the standings.
We lost a good chunk of time to Seamus on 2 stages yesterday, so we're kind of inconsistent. He's got about a minute and a bit on us, and there's no realistic way that we're going to get that back unless he has a problem. We got about a 15-second gap to Carl Yardeval. So we're going to try to see what we can do against Carl, and hopefully we can come out of there in second place. But if it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it, I'm going to ease off and go for the Group N win.
Right 5 plus into small crest. Go! Into left 5. Right 4 tightens. 550. Left 3.
He's pushing so hard he's actually driving faster than Sister Natalie can read the notes. Here he takes a much neater line through the hay bale hairpin. Richard certainly appears to be pushing harder than just wanting to maintain his 3rd overall and Group N class lead. O'Sullivan's crew worked through the night to get his car ready for the final day.
We're looking forward to today, have some fun. Jimmy and I are getting on tune well with each other, so yeah, we're really looking forward to going out there and having some fun today.
Showing his sideways style through the hairpin, Lachlan O'Sullivan is one of the competitors who has 2nd place within his grasp, and he came out gunning for that position. Mark Nelson also started the day coming out aggressive and trying to make up time and move up the order. Wound up driving a bit too hard and making a couple mistakes on one stage. We caught up with Mark and he told us where and what went wrong.
We had an exciting last stage. We spun twice in it, actually. We spun kind of mid-stage, and then we spun right at the flying finish, which was like a 3 right. We spun just after the finishing board. It was just incredibly loose in there. We were just fighting to stay on the road the entire time.
Leon Stiles was getting used to driving his new car on the gravel, making up some time and moving to within 17 seconds of Nelson's position. So after 13 stages, Seamus Burke out in front and trying to increase his lead. The big battle for 2nd place between Pat Richard and Carl Yardeval, as those two only 8 seconds apart, followed closely by Lachlan O'Sullivan. Seamus Burke has the experience to know what to do in this position.
Yeah, we're holding position, yes. Pat has picked up a little bit of time, but not much. We're a minute and a half ahead, so we're just holding position. We're okay.
In this edition of Rally Extra, Al Kintai of Rally America tells us how they keep track of all the competitors' times and scores.
Well, we're hoping to add a notch more of professionalism to the sport. You know, most people in the United States are used to NASCAR and things where you can see who's winning, and here you have to figure out who's winning. Part of what Rally America brought to the sport is we went and purchased some Tag Heuer timing equipment that they use at the European events. That gives us another level of professionalism in the sport, and we get very accurate results now. We also provide online updates for the people at home to follow the rally as it's running. We have a satellite dish on top with 2-way internet systems, we have backup systems. Everybody's kind of a big happy family. It's really interesting and fun.
And here's the final results in the 2-wheel drive classes. Brooks Freehill and Sean Elliott able to hang on to 3rd place in class. Chris Havis and Dave Keane were pushing the leaders all weekend long. They were able to hang on to their 2nd place position. Doug Shepard and the Mopar team able to pull off another win in 2-wheel drive. They tell us about the conditions and their success.
It's kind of like marbles on top of concrete. That's a challenge, you know, most of the time, but then half of the roads are steep downhill, and that's an even bigger challenge. Fortunately, with SRT4, we have front-wheel drive, which is very, very capable handling, and we were able to go down the mountain like a bat out of hell. We won our class this weekend. That's got us off to 2 victories this year, which is just, you know, the best start you could hope for. Bingo!
And having fun taking the win, too. In production GT, we saw Yanis Komorowski and Scott Beckwith score a podium finish as they took 3rd in class. Jamie Thomas and Matt Gager finished 2nd in PGT and 12th overall. But dominating the class and taking the win, Stefan Verdier and Alan Walker winning the production GT class by almost 4 minutes. Open class final results when we come back.